Hey everyone, my name is Toby the Arc Truth, and I would like to start by apologizing for not making videos for the last couple of weeks. I've come down with COVID, tested positive, and I've been remaining in quarantine ever since. However, in the last few days, I've been feeling a lot better, so I've been able to make this video. However, I may be coffee, so just to warn you, it only goes to show that I'm still recovering from COVID, but doing a lot better. With that being said, let's look at how Biden is doing, which, spoiler alert, is not really good whatsoever. Especially with the recent Supreme Court cases just laying defeat after defeat after defeat against the left in general. You can also say that put the Democratic Party and Biden in as well, since they themselves a a major stake in these issues. Specifically, I'm talking about with the Bruin case, about where the Supreme Court the may issue a law that New York has been enforcing for the last 100 years is unconstitutional, which basically makes every state shall issue. So as long as you made certain requirements like paying bills or potentially in California a psychiatric evaluation, which is stupid, you can get a concealed carry permit. But this does potentially add future litigation in regards to shall issue in the future. So let's hope that is the case and that constitutional carry does become law of the land. Also, Roe v. Wade was overturned. Thus, this means that the issue of abortion excuse me, the issue of abortion is now given back to the states and not the federal government. Which I applaud this decision. Roe v. Wade was a pretty bad decision after all. And since then, Joe Biden and the Democrats have been trying to drum up support from gun control to, of course, the situation with Roe v. Wade in the hopes of maybe trying to energize the voters in the 2022 midterm elections. And gun control as well as abortion are not the only things that he's been focusing on. He's also been focusing on recently with Ukraine. And honestly, the way he spoke about Ukraine, especially in regards to what he talked about with high gas prices, well, let's just say Americans are definitely going to be in this for the long run. I am reading from the Eyewitness News, WCAH, ABCA, Fox 11, and it has the title, Biden, Americans will face high gas prices as long as it takes to end war in Ukraine. President Joe Biden is not offering much hope that the price at the pump will lower anytime soon. While addressing the world at the NATO summit in Madrid, a reporter asked Biden how long American drivers should be expected to pay premium prices at the pump, to which the president responded, as long as it takes so Russia cannot in fact defeat Ukraine. I cannot believe that he actually said this sentence, but to continue on. Biden's top economic advisor is standing in lockstep with the president. What you heard from the president today is about the stakes. This is about the future of the liberal world order, and we have to stay firm, says Brian Deese, director of the National Economic Council. The president also said he will not pressure oil-rich Saudi Arabia to ramp up production. If you were to see the Crown Prince or the King, would you ask them to increase oil production? Another reporter said. No, I'm not going to ask them, Biden said. This statement comes as the U.S. strategic oil reserves hit the lowest level this week since 1986. Continuing on, before I get into my own commentary, Biden has been adamant that his administration is doing everything in its power to ease the pressure of high gas prices, but some say actions and numbers speak louder than words. He says in order to help solve the crisis, we need more supply, but his administration has taken actions from the very first days to restrict supply, said Frank Macchiarola, I don't know how to pronounce that last name, a senior vice president at the American Petroleum Institute. Biden vowed to cut greenhouse emissions and pollution by 50% by 2030. They closed out leasing on federal oil and gas development, Macchiarola said. They shut down critical oil and gas line infrastructure projects. From the inauguration day to the week before Russia invaded Ukraine, prices at the pump increased by 48%. The EPA is now warning it's looking at placing strict restrictions on the country's largest oil field, the Permian Basin in Texas and New Mexico. It surged in production over the past decade to the point where now we have American energy security, Macchioro said. This is probably one of the dumbest things that Biden has said. And believe me, he said a lot of dumb things so far in his administration. Because not many people here in the United States are heavily obsessed with what's happening in Ukraine. Don't get me wrong. The overall majority of Americans, myself included, are in support of Ukraine. We believe that, I at least believe that Russia invaded them without any provocation. It is against international treaties and international law, and it's against the very idea of national sovereignty, especially since I am a nationalist. But Biden is so heavily focused on the situation in Ukraine that he is willing to allow Americans to be hurt, paying for this. After all, when Congress, and of course Biden, who signed this into law, passed the $40 billion package deal for Ukraine, who's going to end up paying for it? The American taxpayer. Americans are in support of Ukraine. They do want to give supplies to Ukraine, like sell them. They want to sell arms to Ukraine. But they don't want to pay the unnecessary financial sacrifice for another nation who's fighting in a war that basically we have little involvement with. Seriously, there is little involvement with this, and this is coming from the guy who has been focusing on the situation in Ukraine for way before this channel, back from 2014. I focus a lot on this Ukraine crisis from its inception with the revolution in 2014 to the present day. Although it was way before I made this channel. But even I think that this is not a war that we should be focusing on. And the fact that Joe Biden actually said that as a response, as long as it takes so Russia cannot in fact defeat Ukraine, it goes to show he doesn't care about the American voter. Then again, he's been giving this kind of signal for a while now, especially when he had a joint session of Congress. His main focus was the Ukrainian war, how the Ukrainians basically stopped the Russians before entering Kyiv, and not much else. That was his big stake. He couldn't run on anything else, especially with the economy doing basically pretty shit right now, and especially with the gas prices rising. And as this newsletter goes to show, not only has the price of oil risen by 48% since the beginning of his administration to the beginning of the Russian invasion, but we're now at the lowest level in the strategic oil reserve since 1986. This should not happen. And it's clear that Joe Biden is just trying to put in band-aids so that way the bleeding in regards to inflation or the gas prices or the economy is just slowed down for a bit, at least temporarily, especially with the midterms coming up. It's not working. So what does Joe Biden do? He tries to drum up support the best he can where he has the most support. Ukraine, abortion, in some cases with gun control, although in all honesty, I would say that advocates of the Second Amendment, me included, are actually winning on that front. After all, half of the country is constitutional carry. I doubt gun control is going to be a winning issue. And I'm really glad for that. But here's the thing. Ukraine and abortion, they're not big issues. At least in regards to the American public. The average American, the one who apparently who Biden is supposedly trying to win over. Last time I checked, it was the American public who votes on who becomes the next president or next representative or next senator. Oh wait, there's he probably thinks that's in the bag with Dominion or some other organization that, or maybe even from the DNC or somebody that was to keep him around. which I still think is funny that they actually want to keep him around. But the thing is, Americans are focusing on gas prices. They're focused on inflation. They're focusing on wages. They're focusing on the economy. Remember the old saying, it's the economy, stupid. That's always been what the American people have been focusing on. Even when the economy has been doing great, that's always in the minds of the American people. First and always. It is always one of the top 5 issues that the American public has on their minds. Immigration, definitely one of them. But abortion and even the Ukraine war are definitely not on the top. And yet Biden is trying to drum up support from those issues that Americans do not care as much as he thinks he does. This is not going to help him or the Democrats in 2022. In fact, these comments are definitely major political fire, and it goes to show that Republicans can easily make this look like that Joe Biden does, and the Democrats at large do not care. Hell, right now we're dealing with gas prices, especially here in Western Washington, where it has reached $5.50 and is going to approach to $6. In California, a few places have even $10 per gallon, and that's just insane. People don't want to go and pay for this, especially in an economy that's doing pretty poorly. They do not want to do that. And they especially want their own government to focus on their concerns. Not on someone else's, not on another country's, on themselves. That goes to show that I still hold are despite with what he's trying to do, riling up people who are pro-choice or pro-choice and are obsessed with the Ukraine war, among other low-key issues. He's not going to win. The Democrats are not going to win. I'd say that the Republicans are still going to hold strong. They're going to hold control of the House of Representatives. Not hold control. They're going to gain control of the House of Representatives. They're going to gain control of the Senate. And this is just going to go and become another black eye for Joe Biden. I don't know if he's going to run in 2024. Especially since there's been a lot of talk about Democrats throwing him under the bus after the midterms. Because they can smell blood in the water. But if he does, I honestly, unless some issues in regards to election integrity, Hong Kong go on, I don't see him coming out of this with a second term. I absolutely do not. My name is No Me and Not the Arc Truth. Please post your comments down below, like this video, subscribe, share with friends. Also.